Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, the name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. Today we're going to be reading an article. Star Wars 9 will build on Kylo-Ren and Rey's Last Jedi relationship. That just sounds great, doesn't it, folks? As I figured back when I watched The Force Awakens that Kylo-Ren and Rey could end up in a relationship together. They just had that sort of, not spark, but that they're both main characters in the Star Wars movies and they could easily be written to be in a relationship with each other. They just had that feeling as I watched them. And I'm not really happy about this, because they also had the feeling they could be related to each other. I thought Rey could end up as Luke Skywalker's daughter, and of course Kylo Ren is Han Solo's, because it could easily have been written like that. It just felt like that from watching The Force Awakens. Now let's get into this article. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker co-writer Chris Terrio says that the upcoming sequel will continue to build on the complicated relationship between the heroic Rey and the villainous Kylo Ren. The two are on opposite sides of the war between the First Order and the Resistance, but found themselves bonding through a Force connection and even briefly fighting on the same side in Star Wars The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was a contentious entry in the Star Wars franchise that left fans divided, but perhaps the only thing that can set off fights as easily as phrasing or deriding The Last Jedi is bringing up the topic of Reylo. This is a shorthand for a hypothetical romantic relationship between Kylo and Rey, which some fans are equally in favor of becoming canon and others consider to be an offensive concept. The pro-Reylo fans make the case that the two characters have an intense and fiery dynamic that could easily turn from hate to love, while the anti-Reylo side argue that Kylo is abusive and irredeemable, and it's certainly not Rey's job to save him from the dark side. Terrio didn't give away exactly how Kylo Ren and Rey's relationship will develop in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, which, like The Force Awakens, was directed by J.J. Abrams, but he did make it clear that they won't be as simple as hate. Speaking to Empire, the writer noted that some of the most interesting scenes in The Last Jedi are the conversations between Rey and Ren. Though Rey resisted Kylo's offer to join him and the two were enemies again by the end of the movie, The Rise of Skywalker will continue to explore their intense bond. Ha, that's funny. Well, usually with the way Hollywood develops relationships now, they'd probably already be kicking boots. I mean, that's what usually happens in cheesy action movies from Hollywood, but this being a Star Wars movie, and both characters being, well, unlikable and being stereotypes, one being an emo boy and one being Mary Sue, neither of them comes off as likable or even capable of carrying a relationship. Yet that's what Disney is forcing J.J. Abrams to do here, to make the movie somewhat passable and hopefully make a profit. Now we come to a rather painful part of this article to read. We've tried to pick up that complicated relationship that has really been present ever since the interrogation in Episode 7 when Ren takes off his mask. There's a nakedness about him with Rey that he doesn't express to anyone else. Ryan developed that in fascinating ways, and we've been able to develop it even further. I think you're mistaking nakedness for the fact he comes off as a total dweeb in The Force Awakens, and not as a tough and competent villain. And what's this nakedness about him that he only expresses when only Rey is around? You really don't make much sense. And I find it very irritating with you trying to promote and shill for the relationship for Reylo. Of course, Rey isn't the first Star Wars hero to have a complicated relationship with the main villain. In the original trilogy, Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren's uncle, discovered that Darth Vader was actually his father and tried to persuade him to return to the light side of the Force. Vader ultimately did so at the cost of his own life, leading to some to wonder if Rey will succeed in saving Kylo Ren's soul in a similar way. As George Lucas famously said, it's like poetry. They rhyme. Oh God, every time I read another Star Wars article, it gets cringier and cringier. And this one is especially cringy because of how they come across like saying Rey and Kylo-Ren were made for each other, but it comes off as such a fest of making me want to crawl out of my own skin that it's unbelievable. I mean, does everyone who writes Star Wars articles now take a course in how to make someone feel uncomfortable? For our own mental health, let's go beyond that and just finish this article off. Then again, Kylo Ren and Rey's connection might be developed simply to lend some more weight and pathos to their inevitable final conflict. After all, if Rey ends up killing Kylo at the end of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, it will be all the more tragic if the characters sincerely care for each other on some level instead of being straightforward enemies. Listen, if they were enemies or even lovers, it still comes off as that Kylo Ren and Rey are only in a relationship because the plot of the movie demands that they be in a relationship. And any rumors I've heard about The Rise of Skywalker have made me continuously dread this movie. It's going to be bad. I mean, I've heard them being related to each other, and it's going to be incest, and that they're not related to each other and they're going to be in a relationship, and it just makes me sad because it just comes off as just not good. They don't have a good relationship. There's nothing really there. It just has two characters being there. One's male and one's female. In some movies that's enough, but usually that's a movie that's going to flop because it's been poorly made and none of the things they're showing you make sense. Now, of course, if this were handled right over the course of 3 films, Kylo Ren and Rey could have developed into a romantic relationship. But the characters are not well made and they come off as unlikable. Kylo Ren is not a charismatic villain. He comes off as a teenage boy playing at being a villain in his backyard. Rey, as I said earlier in this video, is a Mary Sue. Everything is easy for her. She takes up the Force it's like she's a fish in water. And that's not good. She should struggle. And this isn't struggling either with their relationship. They're just in a relationship because they're meant to be in a relationship. There's nothing there. What are they building on? I mean, what is drawing Rey to Kylo Ren? What does she see in him? Is it because she's had a miserable life on Tatooine and she feels his misery and it draws her to him because they're both kindred souls and being tortured in agony? Or does she see him as a project that she can fix and make into her little boy toy or rather pet little yapping dog, because that's all I see when I look at Kylo Ren? This relationship doesn't really have anything to stand on. I can't think of why you would want them to be in a relationship or even be enemies. Kylo Ren is terrible for being an enemy or even being a boyfriend or leading character in the Star Wars movie. I just see nothing. They're both so different from the original characters from A New Hope that I can't believe this is Star Wars at all anymore. And it isn't. I mean, Kylo Ren, he just seems like a bratty kid. He doesn't come off as an adult. Or why would anyone trust him to be the commander of a bunch of military forces when they're fighting a war? He doesn't come across that he'd be, good at it. And Rey has nothing going for her. She has no real character. She faces no real problems. Everything is so easy for her that it is painful to watch. Because she's such a drastic contrast to Luke Skywalker, who had to fight and drag himself through the mud to win and save the galaxy. And this is why I just don't like them being in a relationship, nor do I like any of the Disney Star Wars movies. Now, if you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people. And if you want to keep watching my videos, make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you're not subscribed, please subscribe to me. Subscribe to me on YouTube at Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Then go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And could you please share this video, share it on Twitter, and share it on Facebook, because YouTube is not going around promoting their creators' videos anymore, and it would really help me if you could please share this video. Now, listen closely. It's time for another of my daily plugs, as I plug for my own independent comic book, Scumdogs. So keep checking back in future videos to learn more. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.